My name is Tom Grant, and I used to believe in happy endings. 40 years old, ex-firefighter turned building inspector, married to what I thought was the perfect woman. Natalie Grant, 36, sharp as a razor and twice as cutting when she needed to be. HR manager at TechFlow Solutions, the kind of woman who could smile while firing you and make you thank her for it. I should have seen the signs earlier. The cold dinners waiting on the counter while she worked late. Again. The new gym membership she never talked about but somehow found 3 hours a day for. The way she started keeping her phone face down during our conversations, which had become fewer and shorter as the months passed. How was work today? I'd ask, settling into my recliner with a beer after spending 8 hours crawling through construction sites, checking foundations and load-bearing walls. Ironic, considering I never noticed the cracks forming in my own foundation. Fine, she'd answer, not looking up from her laptop. Same old corporate nonsense. Our daughter Zoe, 15 and sharp like her mother, had started treating me like a stranger in my own house. New phone, new attitude, suddenly obsessed with privacy. She'd lock her bedroom door and whisper into her device for hours. When I asked about school, I got one-word answers. When I suggested family movie night, she had plans. "Dad, I'm not 10 anymore," she'd say, rolling her eyes with the practiced disdain only teenagers can master. The first real crack appeared on a Tuesday. I was doing laundry because apparently I was the only man in America who actually knew how to operate a washing machine. Natalie always claimed she was too busy with important work stuff. As I sorted through the hamper, my fingers found something that didn't belong. A second phone, sleek and expensive, hidden beneath her workout clothes. My hands trembled as I held it. The screen was locked, but I could see notification previews. Text messages from D with little heart emojis, meeting times, hotel addresses. My stomach dropped like an elevator with cut cables. I put the phone back exactly where I found it and finished the laundry like nothing happened. But something had changed. The man who spent his days examining structures for weaknesses had finally found the rot in his own house. That evening, Natalie came home late, claiming another emergency meeting with her team. She smelled different, not just her usual perfume, but something else underneath, something familiar. It took me a moment to place it. David Kessler's cologne. The same expensive stuff she'd bought me for Christmas 2 years ago, claiming it would make me more sophisticated. I'd worn it exactly once. David Kessler, her boss. 45, married to Lisa, a lawyer who could probably buy and sell half the city. Rich, smooth, the kind of man who wore $1,000 suits and drove a Tesla. Everything I wasn't. "You smell nice," I said, testing the waters. Natalie paused in hanging up her coat. "New body wash. The girls at work recommended it." The girls at work. Right. I'd met them at company parties, Monica and Jess, professional gossipers who treated other people's business like entertainment. If they were involved, half the office probably knew about Natalie's emergency meetings. I started paying attention, really paying attention. The way she'd smile at her phone during dinner, the sudden interest in working weekends, the new lingerie that never seemed to make an appearance at home, the credit card statements showing charges at restaurants I'd never been to, hotels I'd never seen. 3 weeks later, I found the smoking gun. Not on her secret phone, which she'd started hiding better, but in the most obvious place imaginable. Zoe had been trying to airdrop some photos to her mom's phone and accidentally sent them to mine instead. Mixed in with pictures of her friends were screenshots of text conversations. Conversations between Natalie and David that made my 15 years of marriage feel like a joke. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Room 412, same hotel." Tom suspects nothing. He's too busy with his little building inspections to notice anything. After the divorce, we can finally be together properly. Lisa will take half, but I'll still have enough for us to start over. Divorce. They were planning my divorce before I even knew I was getting one. The final message was the one that broke something inside me. He's so pathetic, David. Always trying to fix things that can't be fixed. Like our marriage. I sat in my truck outside a construction site, staring at those screenshots, feeling something cold and hard settle in my chest. Not anger. Not yet. Something more calculating, more dangerous. I'd spent 20 years as a firefighter before becoming an inspector. I knew how fires started, I knew how they spread, and I knew how to control them. Natalie thought she was so clever, playing her little game while I stumbled around blind. But she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd underestimated the man she married, the man who'd run into burning buildings while others ran out, the man who'd made a career of finding structural weaknesses and fixing them, or in this case, exploiting them. I forwarded Zoe's accidental gift to my personal email and deleted the evidence from both our phones. Then I called Pete Morrison, my old partner from the fire department, who'd gone private investigator after a back injury ended his career. Pete, it's Tom. I need a favor, and it's not the kind where I buy you a beer afterward. What's going on, buddy? My wife's having an affair with her boss. I have proof, and I'm going to make them both wish they'd never met. Pete was quiet for a moment. Tom, you sure you want to go down this road? Sometimes it's better to just... Pete. My voice came out harder than I intended. I'm not asking for advice. I'm asking for help. Are you in or out? Another pause. What do you need? I looked at the restaurant receipt I'd found in Natalie's purse that morning. Chez Laurent, the fancy French place downtown she'd always claimed to hate. Everything tastes like snails, she used to say. Apparently, her taste had changed along with everything else. I need you to help me plan a dinner party, I said. And trust me, it's going to be one nobody forgets. As I hung up the phone, I realized I was smiling for the first time in months. Natalie wanted to play games? Fine, but she'd forgotten one important detail about her husband. I was very, very good at controlled burns. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Friday night at Chez Laurent, the kind of place where they don't list prices on the menu because if you have to ask, you can't afford it. Soft lighting, classical music, waiters who moved like dancers, the perfect setting for romance or destruction. I'd spent the week preparing like I was planning a controlled demolition. Pete had done his job beautifully, gathering intelligence on David's habits, his other indiscretions, and most importantly, his wife's schedule. Lisa Kessler, attorney at law, ice queen extraordinaire, who had no idea her husband was playing house with his subordinate. You sure about this? Pete asked as we sat in his car across the street, watching David's Tesla pull into the restaurant's valet area. Once you light this fuse, there's no putting it out. I've been putting out fires for 20 years, I replied, adjusting my tie. Trust me, I know exactly how big this one's going to get. Natalie emerged from the passenger side wearing a red dress I'd never seen before. Probably bought it with our joint credit card for her romantic evenings. David handed his keys to the valet with the casual arrogance of a man who'd never had to check his bank balance. They looked perfect together, sophisticated, successful, happy. That was about to change. I waited exactly 15 minutes, then walked through the front door like I owned the place. The hostess, a young woman with perfect makeup and a practiced smile, greeted me warmly. Good evening, sir. Do you have a reservation? Tom Grant, table for 4. And I believe my wife is already here with our guests. The lie came out smooth as silk. I'd learned a lot about deception in the past week, mostly by watching my wife practice it. The hostess checked her list, looking confused. I'm sorry, sir, but I don't see... There she is, I said, pointing across the dining room to where Natalie and David sat at an intimate table for 2, hands intertwined, gazing into each other's eyes like teenagers. The woman in red, that's my wife, Natalie. The hostess's smile faltered as she processed what I'd just told her. Her eyes darted between me and the obviously romantic couple across the room. I'll seat you right over here," she stammered, leading me to a table with a perfect view of their little love nest. "Perfect," I said, settling into my chair. "My other guests should be arriving any moment." Right on cue, Lisa Kessler walked through the door. I'd seen her picture in the society pages, but in person she was even more intimidating. Tall, elegant, with the kind of bone-deep confidence that came from winning every argument since law school. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her black dress probably cost more than I made in a month. She spotted me immediately. Pete had shown her my photo during their chance encounter at her favorite coffee shop earlier that week, where he'd played the concerned friend dropping hints about her husband's extracurricular activities. "Mr. Grant?" she said, approaching my table with the measured steps of a predator. "Mrs. Kessler, thank you for coming. Please, sit down. The show's about to start." She sat across from me, her steel-gray eyes never leaving my face. "Your friend was very informative. I assume you have proof of these allegations?" "More than you'll need," I assured her, pulling out my phone. "But first, let's give them a moment to really get comfortable." Across the room, Natalie and David were lost in their own world. He was feeding her bites of some expensive appetizer while she giggled like a schoolgirl. The sight should have hurt more than it did. Instead, I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. "How long?" Lisa asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "At least 6 months that I can prove. Probably longer." I showed her the screenshots, the hotel receipts, the credit card charges. "Your husband's not just cheating on you, Mrs. Kessler. He's been embezzling company funds to pay for it. Small amounts, nothing that would trigger an audit, but enough to cover fancy hotels and expensive gifts." Lisa's jaw tightened as she scrolled through the evidence. "This is very thorough. I'm good at my job. Speaking of which, did you know your husband has been using company resources to investigate background checks on potential romantic interests, including a rather detailed file on my wife's financial situation and marriage history?" "Son of a—" Lisa caught herself, glancing around the elegant dining room. "What exactly are you proposing, Mr. Grant?" "Justice. Public, humiliating, career-ending justice." I gestured toward their table. "Look at them. They think they're so clever, so careful. They have no idea their entire world is about to collapse." I pulled out a small device Pete had given me, a signal booster that would ensure perfect cell phone reception for what came next. Then I opened a group chat I'd created earlier that week. The participants list read like a who's who of their professional and social circles. Natalie's co-workers, David's business associates, their mutual friends, even some of their neighbors. "What are you doing?" Lisa asked. "Going live," I said, starting a video stream. "Everyone they know is about to get a front row seat to the truth." I stood up slowly, straightening my jacket. The phone in my hand was broadcasting to 43 people and counting as word spread and others joined the stream. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said quietly into the phone, "welcome to Dinner Theater. Tonight's performance, How to Destroy a Marriage in Real Time." I walked across the dining room like I was strolling through my own backyard. Other diners glanced up as I passed, sensing drama in the air. The hostess watched nervously from her station. Natalie saw me first. Her face went through a fascinating series of expressions: confusion, recognition, fear, and finally, a desperate attempt at normalcy. "Tom, what are you doing here?" David turned in his chair, his hand still holding Natalie's across the table. To his credit, he didn't immediately let go, arrogant to the end. "Having dinner with my wife," I said pleasantly, holding up the phone so the camera captured both their faces. "You remember my wife, don't you, David? Natalie Grant? The woman you've been meeting in hotel rooms for the past 6 months?" The restaurant went quiet. Every conversation stopped. Every fork paused halfway to every mouth. "Tom, you're making a scene," Natalie hissed, finally pulling her hand away from David's. You're embarrassing yourself. Am I? I asked, glancing at the phone screen. 57 viewers now, including several comments I could see scrolling past. Because from where I'm standing, you're the one who should be embarrassed. David finally found his voice. Now see here, Grant. I don't know what you think you're— What I think, I interrupted, is that you're a lying, cheating piece of trash who's been stealing from your own company to fund your midlife crisis. I turned the phone toward him. Say hello to your business partners, David. They're watching. His face went pale. You can't prove? Actually, I can. I pulled out a folder with my free hand and started reading. March 15th. Unauthorized use of company credit card, Chez Laurent, $247. March 22nd. Company car used for personal travel to the Marriott downtown. April 3rd. Office resources used to conduct personal background investigations. With each item I read, David seemed to shrink in his chair. Natalie was looking around desperately, as if searching for an escape route. And my personal favorite, I continued. The email you sent to my wife discussing how you plan to frame me for workplace safety violations to help her win custody of our daughter in the divorce you two were planning behind my back. The gasps from other diners were audible now. Someone at a nearby table was recording with their own phone. Tom, please, Natalie whispered. We can talk about this at home. Home? I laughed, and it came out harder than I intended. You mean the home you've been planning to take from me? The home you've been coaching our 15-year-old daughter to lie about so you could get a restraining order? That got Lisa's attention. She appeared at my shoulder like an avenging angel in designer clothes. Hello, darling, she said to David, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Having a nice evening with your colleague? David's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Lisa, I can explain. Oh, I'm sure you can. You always were creative with the truth. She smiled at Natalie. And you must be the little homewrecker I've been hearing so much about. How lovely to finally meet you face to face. Natalie tried to stand, but I stepped closer, keeping the camera focused on both of them. Sit down, I said quietly. We're not finished. You can't make me— Actually, I can. Because if you leave now, I send everything I have to the police, the IRS, and your daughter's school. If you stay and listen, maybe we can work something out. She sat. I looked at the phone screen. 82 viewers. The comments were flowing like water, and none of them were sympathetic to the cheating couple. Here's what's going to happen, I announced to both the table and my online audience. David, you're going to resign from TechFlow first thing Monday morning. You're going to transfer every penny you stole back to the company account, and you're going to sign a confession detailing exactly how you manipulated company resources for your personal benefit. I'll never— Yes, you will. Because if you don't, your wife's law firm gets copies of everything, along with detailed financial records showing exactly where every dollar went. How do you think your prenup handles adultery and embezzlement, David? Lisa's smile could have cut glass. Not well. Not well at all. I turned to Natalie. And you, my dear wife, are going to pack your things and move out of my house by Sunday night. You'll agree to joint custody with no support payments either direction. You'll resign from your position at TechFlow to avoid the inevitable harassment lawsuit, and you'll stay away from our daughter unless she specifically asks to see you. You can't— I can, because the alternative is that I release the recording of you coaching Zoe to lie about me being violent. The recording where you promised to buy her a car if she'd testify that I hit you, our 15-year-old daughter, Natalie. You were willing to traumatize our child to steal my house. Natalie's face crumpled. For a moment, she looked like the woman I'd married 15 years ago, young, vulnerable, human. Then she straightened up, and the mask came back. Fine, she said, but don't expect me to make this easy for you. I wouldn't dream of it, I replied, ending the video stream. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this evening. The entertainment portion of our program has concluded. I pocketed my phone and looked down at the wreckage of 2 lives, 2 careers, and 1 marriage. Enjoy the rest of your dinner, I said. I hear the dessert here is particularly sweet. As I walked away, I could hear David trying to explain to Lisa, Natalie crying softly into her napkin, and the excited whispers of other diners already spreading the story. Pete was waiting by the front door, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. How'd it go? He asked. Like a controlled burn, I said. Fast, hot, and exactly where I wanted it. But as we walked to his car, I realized something that should have worried me more than it did. I wasn't done yet. The video went viral by Saturday morning. Not internet-famous viral, but small city viral, which was almost worse. Everyone knew everyone here, and by the time I stopped at Murphy's Diner for breakfast, half the town had seen Tom Grant's public revenge. Coffee's on the house, Murphy himself said, sliding a cup across the counter. Heard you had quite an evening last night. News travels fast. Faster when it's that entertaining. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. My wife showed me the video. That took guts, son. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt hollow, like a building after the demolition crew finishes, empty space where something used to be. My phone buzzed. Text message from an unknown number. You think you're so smart? This isn't over. David. Had to be. I showed the message to Pete when he arrived 10 minutes later. Sore loser, Pete said, sliding into the booth across from me. What's the plan for today? I thought it was over, I admitted. Public humiliation, career destruction, marriage ended. What more is there? Pete's expression darkened. Tom, guys like David don't just roll over and accept defeat. They fight back, and they fight dirty. He was right. By noon, I had my answer. The sheriff's deputy who knocked on my door was young, probably fresh out of training. He looked uncomfortable as he handed me the paperwork. Emergency restraining order, he explained. You're to have no contact with Natalie Grant or David Kessler. No phone calls, no texts, no approaching within 500 feet. I scanned the documents, Natalie's signature at the bottom, along with a sworn statement claiming I'd threatened her and David with physical violence, that I'd been drinking heavily, that she feared for her safety. This is garbage, I told the deputy. I never threatened anyone. That's for the court to decide, sir. I'm just serving papers. After he left, I called Pete. They're fighting back, I said. Restraining order based on lies. What kind of lies? I read him the affidavit. Natalie claimed I'd been increasingly unstable and violent for months, that I'd threatened to make them pay for their relationship, that I'd been stalking them and making threatening phone calls. None of this is true, I said. Doesn't matter. It's filed and signed. You need to be careful, Tom. Any contact with either of them now could land you in jail. That's when I realized how smart they thought they were. The restraining order wasn't just about protection, it was about control. They were trying to silence me, to prevent me from exposing any more of their secrets. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd assumed I was working alone. Pete, remember that favor you owe me from the Henderson arson case? Yeah? I'm calling it in. How do you feel about a little creative surveillance? While Pete set up shop across from David's downtown condo, I had a different target in mind. David's pride and joy sat in the building's private garage, a pristine 1967 Mustang Fastback, cherry red with racing stripes, worth more than most people's houses. I didn't touch it. Didn't need to. I just needed to be seen near it. Monica Reeves, Natalie's former best friend and current social media addict, was surprisingly easy to manipulate. A few carefully placed comments about David's compensation for ruining my marriage, and she was practically begging to help. I never liked him anyway, she told me over coffee Sunday morning. Natalie changed when she started working there, became all secretive and stuck up. I heard he's got quite the car collection, I said casually. Oh, that stupid Mustang? He's obsessed with it. Spends more time polishing that thing than he does with his wife. Well, his soon-to-be ex-wife. Monica's eyes lit up with the prospect of drama. You want me to do something? Just document whatever happens. You're good with that camera of yours. Sunday evening, I took a walk through David's neighborhood. Public sidewalks, perfectly legal. I carried a small container of paint stripper and a brush, the kind used for removing graffiti from buildings. My day job gave me access to all sorts of useful chemicals. The parking garage was private property, but the building's security was a joke. David's Mustang sat in its assigned spot like a red jewel under the fluorescent lights. I didn't damage it. Instead, I carefully painted "Cheater" across the concrete wall next to it in removable paint. Then I called Monica. There's something you might want to see, I told her. Bring your camera. She arrived 20 minutes later with her phone already recording. Perfect timing, because David chose that exact moment to come down to check on his precious car. What the hell? He shouted when he saw the graffiti. Oh my God, Monica gasped, making sure to capture his reaction. David, what are you doing here? I live here. This is my car. He spun around looking for the culprit and spotted me standing by the garage entrance. You did this. I held up my hands, making sure Monica got it all on video. Did what? I'm just taking a walk. The restraining order says you can't come near me. I'm not near you. I'm on a public sidewalk. You came to me. David's face turned an interesting shade of purple. He started toward me, then stopped, realizing Monica was filming everything. You think you're so clever, he snarled, but this isn't over. Not by a long shot. Is that a threat? I asked mildly. It's a promise. Monica kept filming as David stormed back into the building. Within an hour, the video was all over social media with the caption, "Local businessman threatens innocent pedestrian." But David wasn't done. Neither was Natalie. Monday morning brought a new surprise. Zoe, standing on my front porch with tears streaming down her face and a suitcase in her hand. Dad, I can't live with Mom anymore, she said, falling into my arms. She's been coaching me to lie about you. She promised to buy me a car if I'd testify that you hit me. I know, sweetheart. I heard the recording. You knew? Your mom accidentally sent it to my phone instead of hers, along with some other things. Zoe pulled back, looking at me with new understanding. That's how you knew about her and David. That's how I knew. She's been telling everyone you're dangerous, that you've been drinking and making threats. She even showed people fake text messages. Fake? She has an app that lets you create fake screenshots. She's been making it look like you've been sending her scary messages. My daughter, my 15-year-old daughter, was explaining to me how her mother had been manufacturing evidence to destroy my reputation. There's more, Dad. She and David have been planning this for months. They want to get you arrested so they can take the house and get full custody of me. David's been using his company's lawyers to help. That's when I realized the restraining order was just the opening move. They weren't just trying to silence me. They were trying to frame me. Zoe, I need you to do something for me. Something important. Anything. I need you to record your mother. Get her to admit what she's been doing. Can you do that? My daughter's smile was sharp as a blade. She'd inherited more than just her mother's intelligence. Dad, I've been recording her for weeks. I was just waiting for the right time to use it. That evening, Zoe's recordings played on Monica's social media accounts. Natalie's voice, clear as crystal, coaching our daughter to lie, discussing how to fake evidence, laughing about how pathetic I was and how easy it would be to destroy me completely. The response was immediate and brutal. Natalie's co-workers shared the videos, her neighbors shared them. Within hours, the woman who'd tried to paint me as an unstable, violent husband was revealed as a manipulative liar willing to traumatize her own child for money. but I should have known they wouldn't go down quietly. Tuesday night, they came for me. The storm hit Tuesday evening like nature's own revenge plot, complete with thunder that shook windows and lightning that turned the sky electric white. Perfect weather for what was coming. I was in my kitchen, reviewing the evidence Pete had gathered about David's other financial irregularities, when the power went out. Not unusual during storms like this, but something felt wrong. The darkness was too complete, too sudden. My phone buzzed with a text from Pete. Motion sensors triggered at your place, 2 figures approaching from the back. I'm 5 minutes out. I smiled in the dark. Pete and I had spent the afternoon installing a security system that would make the Pentagon jealous. Cameras, motion detectors, automated lighting, and a few special touches inspired by my years as a firefighter. The back door handle turned slowly. They'd picked the lock. Professional job, probably courtesy of David's questionable business connections. I crept to the living room window and peered through the blinds. Natalie and David, dressed in black like amateur cat burglars, slipping through my back door. They thought they were so clever, coming during the storm when neighbors would be inside, when the power outage would disable normal security systems. They had no idea they were walking into a trap. I activated the house system from my phone. Every camera started recording, uploading directly to cloud storage and streaming live to a private channel Pete had set up. If something happened to me, the evidence would survive. Tom? Natalie's voice echoed from the kitchen. We know you're here. We just want to talk. Sure they did. I stayed silent, watching them move through my house like they owned it. David carried a small crowbar, not exactly the tool of someone who just wanted to chat. They were looking for something. My computer, probably, or the physical evidence files I'd been building. They thought if they could destroy the proof, they could control the narrative. Check the office, David whispered to Natalie. I'll take the bedroom. Time to make my presence known. I activated the first surprise, motion-activated spotlights that blazed to life throughout the house, bright as stadium lights. Both intruders froze, temporarily blinded. Welcome to my home, I announced over the intercom system. Please make yourselves comfortable. You're going to be here for a while. The front door locks engaged with a solid click. So did the back door and the windows. Smart home technology was a beautiful thing when used properly. What the hell? David spun around, looking for the source of my voice. Tom, this is ridiculous, Natalie called out. Just talk to us like adults. Adults don't break into other people's houses, I replied, watching them on the camera feeds. Adults don't coach their children to lie. Adults don't embezzle money to fund their affairs. David raised the crowbar threateningly. Open these doors right now, or I'll... You'll what? Break down my door with that little toy? Go ahead. It's all being recorded and broadcast live. Your business partners are watching, your neighbors are watching, the police are watching. That last part was a bluff, but they didn't know that. Natalie tried the front door, pulling and pushing frantically. Tom, please, we can work this out. We can all get what we want. I already have what I want, I said, stepping into view at the top of the stairs. Justice, accountability, truth. David looked up at me, his face twisted with rage. You think you're so smart, hiding up there like a coward. I'm not hiding, I said, walking down the stairs slowly. I'm documenting. Every word you say, every move you make, it's all being recorded. Your careers are over. Your reputations are destroyed. Your marriage is finished. What exactly do you think you can accomplish here? We can ruin you, Natalie snarled, and for a moment I saw the real woman beneath the polished exterior. We can make sure you lose everything. You already tried that. The fake text messages, the coach testimony, the restraining order based on lies. How did that work out for you? David started up the stairs toward me, crowbar in hand. Maybe it's time to give you a real reason to be afraid. That's when I activated the second surprise. The sprinkler system engaged, but instead of water, it released a fine mist of marking dye. The same stuff used to catch shoplifters, completely harmless, but impossible to wash out for weeks. Both intruders were instantly soaked in bright purple. "What is this?" Natalie screamed, trying to wipe the dye from her face. "Evidence," I said calmly. "Now everyone will know exactly where you've been tonight." David lunged up the remaining stairs, but I was ready. 20 years as a firefighter had kept me in better shape than his gym membership and expensive personal trainer. I sidestepped his clumsy swing and grabbed his wrist, twisting until he dropped the crowbar. "That's assault with a dangerous weapon," I said, loud enough for the cameras to catch it. "Breaking and entering, attempted burglary, criminal trespass. How many felonies is that, Natalie? Your HR training should cover the legal basics." "Let go of me." David struggled, but I had leverage and experience. "In a minute. First, I want you both to explain to our audience exactly why you broke into my house. What were you looking for?" "We weren't looking for anything," Natalie lied. "Really? Then why is your purse full of USB drives and portable hard drives? Planning to steal my computer files?" Her face went pale under the purple dye. "And David, that crowbar wasn't for opening doors, was it? You were planning to destroy evidence, maybe rough me up a little, make it look like I fell down the stairs during a burglary gone wrong." "You're crazy," he gasped. "Am I? Then why don't we ask the police what they think?" Right on cue, sirens wailed in the distance. Pete had called them the moment the break-in started. "No, no, no!" Natalie panicked. "Tom, please. We can make a deal. I'll give you whatever you want in the divorce." "I don't want anything from you," I said, releasing David and stepping back. "I just want you gone." The police arrived with all the drama I could have hoped for. Flashing lights, multiple cars, neighbors coming out to watch despite the rain. Pete had briefed them thoroughly, so they knew exactly what they were walking into. "Officers," I called out as I unlocked the front door. "Thank you for coming. I have 2 burglars here, caught in the act. Everything's been recorded." The lead officer, a veteran named Rodriguez I'd worked with during my firefighter days, took one look at the purple-stained intruders and shook his head. "Tom, what did you do to them?" "Security system," I explained. "Completely legal. They broke in during the storm, tried to steal computer files and destroy evidence." "That's not true," Natalie protested. "He lured us here. He threatened us." "Ma'am, you're covered in marking dye and standing in a house that isn't yours, holding burglary tools. Maybe you want to think about your story before you commit to it." David tried a different approach. "Officer, this man has been harassing us for days. We just came to talk to him, and he trapped us here against our will." "Uh-huh," Rodriguez said, examining the crowbar. "You always bring weapons when you want to talk?" While the police processed the scene, I showed them the recordings, everything from the lock-picking to David's threats to Natalie's admission about the USB drives. Clear, unambiguous evidence of breaking and entering with intent to commit burglary. "They're going to be charged," Rodriguez told me privately. "Multiple felonies. With their records and the video evidence, they're looking at serious time." "I don't want them to go to prison," I said, surprising him. "I want something better." "What's that?" "Public accountability, community service, and a very specific kind of restitution." Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "What did you have in mind?" I smiled, watching through the window as Natalie and David were loaded into separate police cars, still dripping purple dye. "I want them to understand exactly what they've lost, and I want everyone they know to understand it too." The storm was passing, but the real tempest was just beginning. The courthouse steps on Friday morning were slick with rain, but that didn't stop the crowd from gathering. Word had spread through social media, local news, and the kind of small-town gossip network that made the internet look slow. Natalie and David's arraignment had drawn an audience. I stood across the street with Pete and Zoe, watching the circus unfold. News vans, curious neighbors, former co-workers, and what looked like half of David's country club. The purple dye had finally faded from their skin, but the stain on their reputations was permanent. "Dad, are you sure about this?" Zoe asked, squeezing my hand. "About what?" "Not pressing for jail time. They tried to destroy us." I looked down at my daughter, so much wiser than her 15 years. Sometimes the worst punishment isn't prison. Sometimes it's having to live with the consequences of your choices in full view of everyone you know. The plea hearing lasted 20 minutes. David and Natalie, represented by separate lawyers now, each pled guilty to reduced charges: criminal trespass, attempted theft, and filing false police reports. No jail time, but 18 months of supervised probation, 500 hours of community service, and full restitution for damages. But the real punishment was what I'd negotiated privately with the prosecutor. "Ladies and gentlemen," the prosecutor announced to the packed courtroom, "as part of their plea agreement, both defendants will participate in a community accountability program. They will spend their community service hours working with local domestic violence organizations, helping real victims of abuse and fraud." The irony was perfect. Natalie, who'd tried to fake being an abuse victim, would spend the next year and a half helping women who'd actually suffered. David, who'd used his position to manipulate and steal, would be cleaning offices and answering phones for minimum wage. After the hearing, I found myself face to face with my soon-to-be ex-wife on the courthouse steps. She looked older, worn down by the stress and public humiliation. The confident, polished woman I'd married was gone, replaced by someone who couldn't meet my eyes. "Tom, she started. "Don't," I said quietly. "We're done talking. The divorce papers are already filed. Joint custody, no support either way, just like we agreed. You can see Zoe whenever she wants to see you. She won't even take my calls." "That's between you and her. You made your choices, Natalie. Now you get to live with them." David approached from the other side, his expensive suit wrinkled and his confidence shattered. "This isn't over, Grant." "Yes, it is," I replied. "You lost your job, your wife filed for divorce, and your business reputation is destroyed. Your country club dropped your membership. Your golf buddies won't return your calls. What exactly do you think you have left to fight with?" He opened his mouth to respond, then closed it. For the first time since I'd known him, David Kessler had nothing to say. As they walked away in opposite directions, even their shared disgrace couldn't keep them together. Pete clapped me on the shoulder. "So what now?" he asked. "Now I go back to inspecting buildings and raising my daughter." "That's it? After all this, you just go back to normal?" I watched Natalie disappear into the crowd, probably heading to her new apartment across town. David climbed into a rental car. His Tesla had been repossessed along with most of his other assets during the divorce proceedings. "Pete, there is no normal anymore. There's just what comes next." What came next, as it turned out, was better than I'd expected. The story of my revenge had spread beyond our small city, picked up by regional news outlets and social media. I started getting calls from other people in similar situations, betrayed spouses looking for advice, guidance, or just someone who understood what they were going through. I began consulting on divorce cases, helping people gather evidence legally and ethically. My background in investigation and my recent experience made me surprisingly effective at it. Zoe thrived without the toxic atmosphere her mother had created. Her grades improved, she made new friends, and she started talking about college. The scared, secretive teenager was replaced by a confident young woman who knew her worth. "Dad," she said one evening as we worked on her college applications, "do you ever regret it? The way you handled everything with Mom and David?" I considered the question seriously. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that your mother made the choices she made. But I don't regret standing up for myself, for you, for the truth." "Good," she said, smiling, "because I'm proud of you." 6 months later, I ran into Monica at the grocery store. She'd parlayed her social media documentation of the whole affair into a small business doing reputation management and social media consulting. Tom, how are you doing? Good, really good. How about you? Busy. You wouldn't believe how many people want help managing their online image after a scandal. She paused. Speaking of which, have you heard about Natalie? I hadn't been keeping track, but Monica was happy to fill me in. Natalie had finished her community service and was working as a receptionist at a small insurance office. No more HR management, no more corporate ladder climbing. She'd moved in with her sister and was reportedly seeing a therapist. And David? Bankruptcy, complete financial ruin. Lisa took everything in the divorce, and the IRS came after him for tax evasion. He's living in a studio apartment and working at a call center. I should have felt satisfaction, but mostly I felt nothing. They were strangers now, people from a different life. That evening, as I sat on my front porch watching Zoe practice driving in the driveway, I realized something important. I'd won. Not just the divorce, not just the revenge, but something bigger. I'd won my life back. The house was mine. My daughter was happy and healthy. My reputation was intact, better than intact, actually. People respected what I'd done, how I'd handled an impossible situation with intelligence instead of violence, with justice instead of just anger. Natalie had tried to burn down my life, but she'd forgotten one crucial thing about her husband. I was a firefighter. I knew how to control fires, how to contain them, and how to rebuild from the ashes. As the sun set over our small city, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of resolution. The night she burned the bridge, she thought she was destroying my connection to happiness. Instead, she'd freed me to build something better, and that, I realized, was the sweetest revenge of all.